Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Wire2Wire Sports Podcast. My voice is still hoarse. I was screaming at my TV Sunday night, but we are back. I am the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That's not been an NFL genius at all. I should change my name to the NFL doofus, and I will do that for 1 week if I finish below 500 on my pick'em. It'll be the NFL doofus because that's the way my picks have been this year. But that's okay. In the upper left corner, I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cutro.
You know, Gene, I was screaming at my TV too on Sunday, but then I got to mellow out a little bit. But, I would say that you got to relax, keep it calm. The sky's not falling. It's okay. All things can still be sunny in Philadelphia.
It won't be sunny in Philadelphia, but I'm going to sound off on that tonight, and that's okay. In the upper right corner, I got Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally, Mr. William Shallcross. He goes by the government now. If I have to text him under William, it's getting the William on the show. Uncle Shally, how you feeling?
Good. I feel like I'm the one like optimistic Philadelphia Eagles fan left in the city, which is a complete role reversal for normal things. So it's been a weird week.
If you're optimistic, I don't know what to tell you. You shouldn't be. I'm sorry, you shouldn't be. We'll get into that. That's fine. We're going to get into that. But I will say this, right? We got a lot to get into this show, and it's not just Eagles talk. It's not an Eagles show. However, they were the game of the week last week, so we have to talk about it. We got NFL action. We got the Shohei Ohtani deal. We have the NBA in-season tournament, UFC. We're going to break down Mr. Chaos Covington versus Rocky Edwards in the main event of the evening. Not to mention there's a couple other good fights on the card, which we'll talk about. And then we got You Got to Be Kidding Me.
You got USC in a minute, man.
It's been a while since there's been a good card. He said, Gene, how you feeling about the Eagles? I'll tell you. We'll start with that because why not, right? We got to recap last week. We got to recap the NFL week. And what better way to start than calling out the Eagles defensive coordinator? So, although I think it's super funny and entertaining when like guys stand out in front of the NovaCare complex, and for those who aren't from Philadelphia, it's the practice facility for the Philadelphia Eagles. Last week they had run the ball and Nick Sirianni set him out coffee. This week there was a guy standing out there with two trash cans, and one said "No Play Slay" and the other one said "Trashberry" for Bradbury. And they had two trash cans and a guy standing there next to them. And I think that's funny, right? Like, I think it's comedic relief that and Slay responded to it. He retweeted it and y'all are wild for this. And then he also retweeted his PFF stats, which by the way, are super annoying for you to do that. Real people that watch football understand that Darius Slay did not get torched in that game. He didn't look bad at all. He had 0 catches allowed by PFF's grading system, which is kind of bogus whenever you're in zone defense, which the Philadelphia Eagles play 74% of their defensive schemes in zone. Now, the problem isn't playing zone, right? A lot of teams play zone and they play it well. Some teams don't have the horses to play man-to-man coverage, so they play zone. And that's okay. But you can't play base zone. 4 rushers, base zone, every play. And the Philadelphia Eagles, Sean Desai, you're on my hot seat. I would have fired you. I don't care if they're 10-3. I would have fired you immediately. Now listen, we talk about this all the time, right? Do they have the ingredients to make a good meal? Right? I'm a fat guy, right? I talk about meals. I use it comparatively to food. Do they have the ingredients to make a good meal? Well, yes. They have Hassan Reddick, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham on the line. You have Shaq Leonard now. You have Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Kevin Byard, Reed Blankenship. You have the ingredients to make a good meal. We're not going to say this team doesn't have talent on the defensive side of the ball because Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, Brian Flores would be salivating with this talent on that side of the ball. Salivating. What do we lack? We lack scheme. We play base zone defense. It's either cover 2 or cover 1 or cover 3, every single snap. They very rarely blitz. They blitz at like 16%, which is like third lowest in the NFL. And they can't turn the ball over at an alarming level. Jalen Hurts fumbled inside Dallas territory. A.J. Brown fumbled in Dallas territory. Devontae Smith fumbled in Dallas territory. Devontae Smith had a touchdown fall off his fingertips. A.J. Brown dropped the ball at the 3-yard line that he normally catches. I'm not okay with the way the Philadelphia Eagles are playing. And when you get bullied back-to-back weeks by the two contending teams in your conference, it does not sit well with me. Now, Shally seems optimistic, and Cottrell told me before the show he's on the other side of the fence as me, but that's okay. I'm going to listen. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to listen as you guys tell me why I shouldn't jump off a bridge after this podcast because the Philadelphia Eagles are going down a dumpster fire hole.
Go ahead, Bill. It's your team.
So I think we got to start here, and I think we have to be realistic about. I think we have to separate the San Francisco and the Dallas game. The San Francisco game, well, the two losses to the Eagles. I think you have to separate that game from this past week's game. The San Francisco game was more of a beating, outplayed, like just across the board. Like it was bad. I didn't have a problem with the effort this past week. My biggest gripe is the same gripe that Gene has. He's like dead spot on, middle of the bullseye. He brought up the good point that how, other teams would love to have, the talent we have or have the horses. I think that's what's frustrating for the fans here is you can't be the third lowest blitzing percentage team in the league when you have the horses to blitz and play man behind it if you have to. It's why you overpaid for Bradbury to keep him here. It's why you brought Slay back. You have the talent and the back end on the secondary to do it, and we refuse to do it. I've railed against Dak all year. I still think Dak is what he is. But a quarterback that's been in the league for 5 years, 6, 7 years, to Gene's point, when you sit back there in zone and give him one of 3 looks the entire game, that's it. It's the only looks we're giving him. He's going to figure it out. He's not terrible. That needs to change. I don't know if you could fire him in the middle of the season. There's been a lot of discussion about that the last 2 days. Gene's, stated how he feels about it. I think if you're 10-3, I don't think you can have. Me personally, I don't think you rock that boat. I think you can have a meeting with him or even say like, hey, we're going to take certain things away from you, or this is what I want to see as a head coach. And Sirianni has responsibility in this as well. It's his team. Like, hey, dude, like I want those guys to be more aggressive. We debatably have the best defensive line in the league. Nobody's running the ball on us that well. Linebackers are a weak spot, especially now with them being banged up. But you have a secondary that can cover guys for 3 seconds. Blitz people. That's what I want to see. If not, then maybe we will relieve you of your duties. The Dallas game, I think, is a tale of 2 halves. I think the defense played better in the second half. They only gave up 9 points, all field goals. But that being said, the biggest thing for me is the lack of focus and the lack of execution. I don't want to hear a ton about the offensive game plan because everybody's like, oh, we run these deep routes all the time. Well, yeah, we do because we have the offensive line to do that. That is one of the strengths of our team. When you have an offensive line that can pass block for 4 seconds, you don't have to send everybody on, 5-yard outs all the time. That being said, my biggest thing with this past week was the lack of focus, the lack of execution. Gene mentioned the drop ball by AJ and Devonta. Both points. Well, I mean, they're both putting points on the board. And we had 3 fumbles inside the 25. I mean, are they all touchdowns? I don't know. But they're all at least 3. I mean, it's 9 points. That doesn't win you the game. But Devonta's fumbled on the 5 going in almost. AJ fumbled on the 20 and Jalen fumbled right on the 25. If those drives keep going and they score, it's a completely different ball game. That's the shit that needs to be cleaned up. It's got to be cleaned up. It's got to be cleaned up now. They're getting sloppy. They're getting complacent. That is where my frustration with these guys are right now. I will be very curious to see how they start the game Sunday in Seattle in a hostile environment in a place that we haven't won in 15 years or something like that. And I will say this: I think Sirianni, his free pass with certain things needs to end as well.
Well, time out. 1 second. I'm going to go right to control after this, but time out. You said Sirianni's free pass needs to end. I listened to this man's press conference yesterday, and I'm going to tell you something right now. I could not be more like, my mind was blown. They asked him what needs to change. This is the 3 things I wrote down from what he said. What needs to change? We just need to clean things up a little bit. Then they asked him about the turnover margin. Last year, they were a plus 14. This year, they were a minus 4. He goes, sometimes the ball bounces a different way. Okay. And the third thing that just drove me nuts. He said, is there any conversations that you're having with anyone inside the locker room about either the play calling on the offensive side with Brian Johnson or the defensive scheme on the defensive side? He goes, no, I feel like, and then he goes, I feel like that we're never going to use being tired as an excuse. However, the college football season's over, and that shows you how much of a grind the NFL season is. This is the most games that Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have ever played.
They're not the problem, though.
Like, they are, though. Jalen Carter has been a ghost the last 2 weeks. You want to talk about a guy that's a rookie of the year candidate? Take him out of the conversation. I love Jalen Carter. He's not the defensive rookie of the year. The last 2 weeks, Dallas's left side and San Francisco's left side have absolutely destroyed him. Trent Williams made that man look like a baby. And I'm not saying Trent Williams didn't do it to everybody. He's the best left tackle in football. But, like, they embarrassed him on that left side of the line 2 straight weeks.
It's
embarrassed.
It's Trent Williams versus a rookie. I mean, I'm not saying he shouldn't have got plays in here or there, but at the same time, that's what it is. That's why Trent Williams is who he is.
Him scoring a touchdown means nothing, Brandon. He picked up the ball that Fletcher Cox knocked out of his hand. I don't care about scoring the touchdown. You pick up a live ball and run it in 12 yards. That's not a good play to me. Sorry.
It wasn't 12 yards. It was further than that. But anyway, back to the press conference. I agree with you with the frustration. I think some of the things he said on the surface, they're not wrong. Like, listen, like, football's not round. I mean, like, there are times like a ball comes out and it literally just bounces right towards your guy. Is that the excuse for a differential of 18 turnovers from last year? No, it's not. And the execution part of it, I think is, I kind of what that was my big point. Like, I think that is part of it, but you can't say like, hey, we just got to clean it up when it's starting to form a pattern here. I mean, I hate to go back to Carson, but like when Carson was here, he got smashed all the time for his turnovers. Jalen Hurts has 15 turnovers right now. He's not taking care of the ball real well. A.J. Brown all of a sudden went from the shorthanded guy to having a case of the fumbles like the last 3 or 4 weeks. He had another one a couple weeks ago that, by the luck of God, got turned over to an incomplete pass. Probably should have been a fumble.
His mouth bothers me more than his play on the field.
Well, I don't disagree, but when you combine the two, that's where you get the real aggravation. Like, don't be like, hey, I had another 100-yard game, but I had a fumble within the 20 and a drop touchdown pass. But look at my fantasy points and watch me run my mouth. That's where I get really aggravated. I don't care what your stats look like at the end of the day. I'd rather you not fumble that ball and catch the ball in the 3 and not have a catch for the rest of the day and not take 14 points off the board for the Eagles, because that's what's important. Devontae, I'm going if I was going to give a pass to any one of the 3 of them, it would be him, because that's uncharacteristic for him in regards to the fumble. The catch, that ball was placed about as perfectly as it can be placed. And for a guy who prides himself on catching literally everything, he's got to come down with it. And that is the difference in those games. I talk about it all the time. Little things lead to big things. Dallas's players made plays when they had to. Our guys dropped the ball. Our 3 best players dropped the ball literally in that game on Sunday night, and that's why they lost. It's as simple as that. You are only as good as your stars. The stars got to set the example, set the tone, and lead by example. Our 3 best offensive players did not do that. And I'm going to go back to one thing I'm going to say, and I'm tired of saying it, but it's true. The stat came out today. Run the goddamn football. I don't get it. I don't get it. There's certain games earlier in the year, like they looked they were bored, but they were up by 20. So they're like, we're going to try out new pass plays, blah, blah, blah. Open the second half, to go right down the field, run the ball with DeAndre Swift again. He's something like 38-6 when his lead running back has more than 20 touches, and he's 3-8 when they're under.
Control, make this less of an Eagle show, because this isn't an Eagle show. But let us know that Dallas and San Francisco are just better football teams, and the Philadelphia Eagles are just going to be a team that's going to be the third best team in the NFC.
No, so that's not the case here. I don't think so. Especially for Dallas. I understand why you're, happy about the win, the way it happened. Doesn't mean you're going to win the Super Bowl. And then for Eagles fans, this to me isn't the sky is falling kind of game. Now I do agree that, things are starting to pile up for this Eagles team, and it is starting to become a habit. Was the first Cowboys game where you guys fumbled the ball 5 times and recovered all of them? Was that the number?
3 of them. We fumbled
3 of them.
times.
3 and got them all back. So this is just a game where, I don't want to give Nick credit here, but the ball bounced the other way in this game. You didn't recover any of those 3. Cowboys get them. Obviously, they go on. They win the game by 3 possessions. I think that the way this defense is looking now, at this point in the season, I'm going to be real. You are at a point where, this is the point of no return. That defense is what it is. It's not going to get any better. I know you guys want to play more man. I know you want to mix up the base defense. I understand the frustrations there. The reality of the situation is it's not going to happen. If it hasn't happened by week 15, it's not going to happen now overnight, with the season on the line. So that part of it, it is what it is. On the offensive side of the ball, though, you guys can move the ball really at will in the second half of every ball game. It just so happens that against the 49ers and against the Cowboys, those are 2 teams that you cannot let pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. It's just not going to be a recipe for success for you. And so I think offensively, I do agree. You guys need to run the ball more. I have the same issue with Stefanski here in Cleveland. I'm always yelling at TV, run the ball. But the way that offense looks right now, you can put up points. And the other thing is that you have an X factor at quarterback. You have a guy that can take over a game and make those plays to go win you football games. So I think that the way that the Eagles are looking offensively, it may take them scoring 30 points a game to ultimately get to where you need to go. But that offense is more than capable of doing that, especially with Jalen Hurts at the helm. So I get the defensive issues and, why you guys are so upset. I 100% agree that is the problem. The reality is the defense isn't going to win you a championship this year, but you got Jalen Hurts who, when the game is on the line, I mean, outside of Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if there's anybody else really that I would want to be on the other side leading that charge for me.
All right, well, 20 minutes in, we got to make this less of a Philadelphia Eagles show. We got to talk about some new things that happened in this week. And the easiest way to do that would be to talk about the current playoff picture. Last week, we had some wild things happen, right? We had Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson both throw for 300 yards. I watched that Browns versus Jaguars game, and I've never, ever thought I would say this, but the Browns defense is incredible. Like, they're top 5 in the NFL, no doubt in my mind. I don't know if I'd put them 1 anymore. I think San Francisco's got the best defense in football now with Chase Young added there. But it's never been more evident that a team is missing Christian Kirk. Like, I watched that game, and, man, Calvin Ridley just isn't what I thought he was going to be this year. And Zay Jones was terrible. Trevor Lawrence had 3 interceptions, and 2 of them are 100% on him. I think one, Calvin Ridley ran the wrong route, if I'm just being completely honest, just by the way that ball was thrown. That was the one that around the 7-yard line. But he threw some dimes in that football game that were just dropped. You got to come up with a contested catch one time during the game. I want to give Cleveland their credit because if I'm being honest with you, if I had to vote for Coach of the Year, it would go to Kevin Stefanski. No doubt in my mind. And I'm going to explain to you why. This is a team that has lost their starting quarterback. They're basically on their 4th quarterback, but I can't say because the other 2 are still available, so I'm not going to say their backup quarterback. They lost their starting quarterback. They're all pro running back. They just lost another guy on their defense. They lost an offensive lineman. Was your left guard that you guys lost for the year?
Right tackle, left tackle are both out. Backup right tackle.
It's insane the amount of things that this team's been through. We talk about Mike Tomlin, what he's doing with Pittsburgh, having them above 500 with that team. What Kevin Stefanski is doing in Cleveland is absurd. So, I put a $50 bet that the Cleveland Browns wouldn't make the playoffs, and it looks like I'm going to lose that bet because Joe Flacco turned back the hands of time and looked like elite Joe Flacco last week. I penciled that game as a loss. Jacksonville will beat them. They're the better football team. I still think they are. Trevor Lawrence, by the way, heroic effort making it back on the field after that injury.
I cannot believe you played that game.
Then we got to talk about Tommy Cutlets, right? Tommy Cutlets won 3 straight games. New York Giants. How about the Tennessee Titans going into Miami, winning that game on Monday Night Football? Craziest week of NFL action. If you had a survivor pool, you're probably eliminated at this point.
I don't know too many that are still going on. I mean, it's
insane.
The last couple of weeks have kind of put a dead end on a lot of survivor pools.
So, like, the fun question that I want to ask, and then we'll kind of preview a little bit. We'll start, Control, AFC, NFC. What do you want to start? Pick one.
AFC.
Okay. So, I think that we can all agree that, well, we can't agree anymore. Miami Buffalo is not settled. I was about to say we can agree Miami Buffalo. The AFC North is locked up, right? Baltimore Ravens are winning the AFC North. Can we agree there? Can we all just push our chips in? The AFC North is locked up.
The only reason why
they would have to lose 3 or 4.
They only got to lose. They only have to lose 2, and they have a pretty tough.
They play at Jacksonville. They play at San Francisco. They play Miami at home. They
have 2 losable games. They're only up 2.
3 losable.
I'm just saying, like, for the Browns to take over, they are 2 games behind. The rest of our schedule is very favorable. Beating the Jags was huge. I mean, you got the Bears this week. I get it. They're playing good football right now, but you also have the Jets, and the Bengals are also playing good football, but, like, those are, in my mind, winnable games. You also got the Texans there where,
I think
CJ's health is going to be there. You for sure could, but
all 4 of those teams could beat you.
You also could go 3-1.
Can we be realistic for a minute? Baltimore's winning the AFC North.
I agree.
I think it's a good chance, yeah.
Okay. Jacksonville's winning the AFC South.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are I think Kansas City's winning the AFC West. They're 1 game up on Denver. Denver's got to play at Detroit this week. Kansas City's got to play at New England. It'll probably be 2 games up with 3 to play after this week. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think they play each other one. I think they play
each other twice. They played twice already.
Are they all right?
But Kansas City's schedule is 100% easier down the stretch.
Okay.
So my question would be, who wins the AFC East, Miami or Buffalo?
Miami.
Okay, I'm with you there. So then
Buffalo's
who are the 3 wild cards? We all agree on the divisions, right? We got Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City, Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Jacksonville. Who are the 3 wild cards for the AFC?
I got some. I got the Browns, I got the Colts, and I got the Broncos.
Okay, that's fair. Who has an issue with that? I think you're going to go outside the box.
No. I'm just saying, like, thinking about, those teams that are currently there. Not saying the Bills, and they're kind of surging right now. I know the Broncos are on the outside looking in. That's why I said it like that.
All right, I have the Bills. I think the Bills are going to make a run. I love what they're doing right now. I love what they're doing right now. I think Buffalo looks like a different ball team with Joe Brady. So I have the Buffalo Bills. I have Broncos country, let's ride. And I have the Houston Texans. They're my 3. You're laughing. I'm not trying to be an ass. If you tell me on a neutral field, I know that not a neutral field. I know they have a game up on the 3 teams that are in the playoffs. But all 3 teams are better than Cleveland, bro. They're all better than Cleveland.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But if you look at the 4 remaining games left, Cleveland essentially has to win 2 games. They have the tiebreaker over everybody except the Broncos that are in wild card contention.
Okay.
If they win 2 out of their next 4, they're going to be in the playoffs.
So I could remove the Broncos for the Browns. That would be my removal. I think Houston gets in, and I think Buffalo gets in.
Oh, see, now it's going to be tough with Houston because if CJ is in protocol, Davis Mills is going to lose him a game this week. That puts him another game behind everybody. Like, It's tough sledding with everybody.
Playing at the Titans, bro, and the Titans on a short week. I think Davis Mills could win that football game.
Davis Mills stinks.
I agree with you. Will Levis isn't great either. I think Miami gifted him that game, but that's my picks, right? You have yours. I have mine.
Yeah.
So what are your three?
I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's funny to be in here. We all picked Buffalo not to make it. Now we're all picking them to make it. They have a tough game with Dallas.
Coordinator makes Philadelphia.
Well, it's that, and it's also. I mean, I don't think any of us thought New England was going to be a 3-win team, and obviously with Rodgers getting hurt with New York, that drastically changed that situation. So I like Buffalo. I agree with you on Denver. I think Denver's last tough game they have is this week in Detroit. After that, they finish with their home against New England. That's going to be a win. They're home against the Chargers without Justin Herbert. That's going to be a win. And they finish at the Raiders.
And you have the Browns as your third, right?
I guess.
Or the Colts.
I trust the Browns defense more than I trust the Colts. So I'll go with the Browns.
That's fair. NFC is different. We can all agree 1, 2, 3, and 5 are locked up, right? We're all agreement there.
Yep.
San Fran, Philadelphia, or Dallas, Detroit. Yeah. That's your 4. 1, 2, 3, and 5. Yep. So your questions are 4, 6, and 7. On 3, we're all going to say the AFC South winner because it's the same. All 3 of us are going to have the same answer. 1, 2, 3, Baker.
Saints.
1, 2, 3, Baker.
Saints.
1, 2, 3, Baker.
Saints.
You guys are Baker Mayfield. You might not like him because he was an ex-Cleveland Brown, but my man is playing out of his mind. He's playing great football for them. He's got that team revved up. You said Saints. I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. And it's okay. Did Derek Carr's center just try to fight him on the field this past week?
I mean,
did that happen? Yes or no. I don't need craziness. You guys can rebuttal afterwards. Did Derek Carr's center just try to fight him on the football field?
I had an argument. I don't have to try to fight.
Did Michael Thomas just tweet a photo about leadership about Derek Carr when Derek Carr's played as many games in New Orleans the last 4 years as Michael Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michael Thomas is probably the last person that should tweet pictures about leadership.
Do you have more faith in Todd Bowles or Dennis Allen?
Todd Bowles. I'll give you that one.
I'm telling you right now, the Saints are destructing. They're like Inspector Gadget's message, right? This message will self-destruct. It would be great for the Saints not to make the playoffs. This way, they could fire their coach and restart what's going on there.
Agreed.
It's the Buccaneers.
Again, I think with the Saints, like they played the Giants this week, which we talked about. Tommy Cutlets, that game is not as winnable as it looked, 3-4 weeks ago. Then they also play the Bucks later on this year, which that game is always a toss-up matchup with Marshawn and Mike going at it. And then they end the year with the Falcons at home. Like, I mean,
isn't that Bucks game in the new sombrero though?
Yes,
the Bucks game is
the Bucks game is at Tampa Bay
in the new sombrero.
The Bucks have the Packers on the road this week. They got the Jags next week, and then they end Saints Panthers.
All right, but here's New Orleans though.
I know.
Giants. They should win at home. They go to LA against the Rams, who are not playing bad football. At Tampa Bay,
then they win the last 2.
Home against Atlanta.
So
they both have tough schedules.
We're arguing that. I have Baker. You two have the Saints. Give me seeds 6 and 7 in the NFC.
I will go ahead.
Unfortunately, swear to God, if you do it, I'm going to lose my mind.
Unfortunately,
can I do it if you're going to do it?
Sure.
Are you going to do it? What I'm doing? The thing I predicted Monday that was all over.
I'm not doing that, but
okay, that's fine. Then do yours.
I got the Rams being a 6 seed, and then I personally have the Vikings being the 7 seed.
Okay, that's fair. Shall give me your 6 and 7, please, in the NFC.
Rams don't best schedule. I think Minnesota's going to get in just because who they're going to play down the stretch. I don't know if they should. They're probably going to be like the 7 seed.
I have zero faith in anyone playing quarterback for them. I actually think
Facts.
Minnesota loses all 4 of their games. Minnesota plays the Lions twice. They lose both those games. They play at Cincinnati this week, and they play Green Bay. Minnesota's going 0-4. I'm going to tell you that right now.
That last Lions game, nobody's going to play for Detroit.
We'll see. They might be
They
playing for
won't.
seeding.
No, they're not. They're going to be playing. They're going to be the 3 seed. And they're going to have a home game. They're not going to play anybody that game. They should beat Green Bay at home. Bengals game's tough. I do kind of like the Rams the way they're playing. They're kind of healthy now. They've played. I'll definitely go with the Rams. Still, who else?
Oh, you're saying where I was at. You're saying where I was at, and I really just start reading schedules. Bill, I'll feed you, baby bird. I will feed you. I'm going Rams 6 also. I think they showed you that Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, Aaron Donald in the 6th round draft picks on defense. They're going to be my 6. My 7, closing the season with 6 straight wins. Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. The Bears' schedule, if they win this week at Cleveland, which is obviously this is the toughest game they have left, is Cleveland. There's no doubt in my mind. If they win this week at Cleveland, they get Kyler at home, they get Desmond Ridder at home, and then they go at Packers for a playoff spot last week of the season. I got the Chicago Bears. I
Kyle,
think
it'd be the worst thing in the world.
Friggin' table.
Kyle, that would be the worst, absolute worst thing. Because if Eberflus keeps that job there, like you're in purgatory.
Agreed. But I think the Bears run the table. They win 6 straight games, and they get the 7th spot at 9-8.
What's funny is that before watching last week, I probably would have had the Packers there. Like I would have went Rams 6, Packers 7. Because looking at their schedule, I mean, I thought they shouldn't have lost the game the rest of the season. But then just looking at the way that, I mean, it's evident to me that the Packers lack veterans in that locker room. Like they play like they have a whole bunch of young guys that don't know what to do when the game gets tight. They don't have anybody reliable that they can go to. And Jordan Love is Jekyll and Hyde. You know, some weeks he's great, lights the world on fire, looks like he could be a franchise guy. And then other weeks, it's like, is this really what we were banking on and why we let Aaron Rodgers leave town?
They're Atlanta. They play really well at home. They play everybody tough at home, and they go on the road and they look like they haven't played football before. Like it's the Giants game. You got to give Jordan Love credit. Goes down the field, takes the lead with like 2 minutes to go, and then the defense comes out, which is supposed to be the strength of the team. And let's go right down the field. Like it's wild. I don't know. That's what they are though. I mean, that's what we said at the beginning of the year. They're young. They were a first time true starting quarterback, and a lot of young guys in all the skill position. That just breeds inconsistency. That's what it is.
I have more faith in Justin Fields than I do Jordan Love. And if they play a playoff game the last week of the season, I'm picking Chicago over Green Bay. I don't care how crazy it sounds. Give me the Bears.
Imagine that game being last year we got Packers Lions to see if they could get in. And then this year getting Bears Packers to fight for that last playoff spot. It's good scheduling.
And I know I'm probably the only person in America picking the Bears. I understand that.
You know what's funny is if they had anybody other than Eberflus, coaching, maybe I'm not picking the Bears because, deep down, I want him to lose 3 games and make sure he gets fired.
I want them to lose 3 games and make sure he gets fired because I think that Justin Fields, and I'll have my second favorite team in the NFC, about 100%, gets traded to the Atlanta Falcons. I think they fire Arthur Smith, and I think that Justin Fields becomes the new coach. They marry him with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and they become the best team in the NFC South for the next 10 years.
My fear, though, is that Pittsburgh makes a move on him. They hire a new offensive coordinator that likes Justin Fields. They marry their QB to OC, and then he's in here with everybody else in the AFC North. But I would love him going to Atlanta. I think that makes a ton of sense, especially with what they have there.
He threw 6 touchdowns on that carpet. 6 touchdowns in one football game on that carpet.
Sign me up for that.
I think you're. I don't think making the playoffs definitely guarantees that he comes back next year in Eberflus.
If they win 6 straight, I think it'd be tough to let him go.
I don't think so.
Hopefully, they just get blown out in the first round of playoffs. Like as the 7th seed, they play like Philadelphia or San Fran or somebody, and they just destroy them. They're like, "Oh God, this is not a good team. Let's just fire them."
You bring a coach in that wants to work with Fields, and then, like I said, I think you've a ton of opportunities.
Do I got to get shirt on the closet? I'll get the shirt. Free Justin Fields. Get him out of Chicago.
Hey, in other good news, though, we're going to get the other wish that we've been hoping for, because I think it's inevitable now. So I don't think there's, especially with him being hurt for the rest of the year, I don't think there's any way Staley comes back now.
Oh, thank God. I want to see next year Justin Herbert with a competent head coach. I swear to God, if they go out and hire some like rinky-dink white offensive coordinator from like some stupid – like, oh, yeah, we're going to hire this guy that stood next to Sean McVay on the sideline. He's going to be the guy. Like, don't do that. Please don't do that. But we'll see. I think it'll be interesting down the stretch. Let's break down some games this week. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
All right. We got a couple games that have like real playoff implications, and I kind of want to start with them. And, you know, we can go anywhere you guys want to go, but I really want to start there, right? So you got a very interesting overall schedule this week. You have a Thursday night game. You have 3 Saturday games, primetime all day. And then you have a bunch of Sunday games, and then the Eagles are on Monday Night Football. But let's start with games that matter. And Thursday night doesn't matter again. Los Angeles at Las Vegas. So we'll skip that.
That game, like, as big as a football fan as I am, and I know we joke about like saying things are unwatchable, and you still end up watching it anyway. That game is probably unwatchable.
I mean, that's what I thought about Pittsburgh and New England, and sure enough, they gave us a little bit of fireworks last week. So,
how about we start in the Battle of the Bays? Tampa versus Green. It's at Green Bay. Tampa versus Green Bay. What's your thoughts on the game? Where are we going here?
I'm going to go right back to what I said. I think you're a little too high on Baker, because this is a game that he's coming in, you think, with momentum and those receivers, and that, you know, Rachaad White all of a sudden looks like he's lighting the world on fire, running the ball all of a sudden. And this is a typical game where Baker will go out and shit the bed. Jordan Love will look great at home. You know, I think it's a very close game. I think it's a good game. I think Green Bay pulls it out at home. I really do.
I agree with you. I actually agree with you. I think Green Bay pulls the game out at home. I think it's their last win of the season. I think Green Bay wins this football game. I think Tampa Bay is coming off that emotional win, winning at Atlanta. I agree with you. I think Green Bay wins this week. I think it's actually a rather easy play.
I think Green Bay wins as well. I think the big thing for me is Green Bay has to figure it out, you know, with Christian Watson being hampered with injuries. Obviously, he didn't play last week. You know, Aaron Jones, they've been missing that 1-2 punch. A.J. Dillon, he's been playing, but he hasn't been 100% healthy. I think they do try to rely a little bit more on, you know, the rushing attack this week. And I think they go back to the drawing board, keep things easy for Jordan Love. And, you know, they don't ask him to go out there and do anything crazy. So I like the Packers to win this game in a rather lower scoring game.
Oh, and by the way, if you think that we forgot about the call heard around the world, we didn't. We have a segment at the end of our show that I promise you, if one guy doesn't mention it, I'll be mentioning it. The call heard round the world and the crybabies that ensued afterwards. I promise you, we'll be talking about that later. Just a little spoiler alert. Little spoiler. Dallas, Buffalo, game of the week in Orchard Park, Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. I am picking this game, so I will abstain.
I am picking this game as well.
Oh, no. We're both going to the same spot.
Know exactly where you guys are going. I think I'm going to be on my own little branch over here, but I got the Cowboys. Look, I know they won an emotional game last week, and I know the Bills, you know, everything is trending upwards for them. For me, it does say a little bit about that Bills team that they got up early on that Chiefs team, 17-7, scored 3 points the rest of the game. I think with Josh Allen, and especially as aggressive as Dallas is on the outside, I think Josh Allen's going to have, a turnover, if not two. I think they're going to be able to rush the passer and start to get after Josh Allen, make him a little bit uncomfortable. And then defensively, Buffalo has not looked the same without Matt Milano. The middle of the field's wide open. And you talk about the Eagles defense. I mean, Bills defense is essentially the Eagles, but in the AFC. They have holes all over in their zone. They run zone all the time. Pretty basic coverage all the time. Easy to pick apart. So I like the Cowboys to really come in with the same game plan offensively they had last week. Pick apart the zone and, pick your spots, when you want to take shots. I like the Cowboys to win. I think they win, touchdown, maybe even 2 possessions.
All right, I'll spoil it. I think Buffalo kicks their ass. I do. I think that this is a perfect game for Buffalo to get them. I think that offense is clicking on all cylinders in Buffalo. You can talk about the 3 points in the second half. Kansas City's got a great defense, particularly at home. I think that Buffalo coming home with Bills Mafia. By the way, I was on the Bills-aholic podcast last night. Guys are great guys. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you should YouTube them, check them out. Great group of people. I went on the podcast because they were talking a lot of smack about Philadelphia Eagles fans. I'm like, let me set the record straight. And they thought I was going to come on and attack them. And I showed them the way Philadelphia handles business. I talked to them about that. But great guys. Make sure you check them out. Little cheap plug for my Bills-aholic fans. But if we're being honest, right, that game in Buffalo is going to be rampant. That crowd is going to be nuts. It's a huge football game for them. They're in the playoff hunt. It's an exhale game for Dallas. I love Buffalo here. Just, what do I know? I'm an idiot. Sunday night football. We finally have a good one. I'm kidding. We had one last week, but it wasn't good. Sunday night football. The Baltimore Ravens had back into Jacksonville to take on the Jags after last year's little implosion that they had. They were winning the football game. They're beating Jacksonville by 14. Jacksonville scored. They scored 1 touchdown. They stopped them. They got another touchdown. They went for 2, and they won the football game. Big Balls Doug won the game. I think it was 29-28, something of that nature. Games in Jacksonville. It's a big football game. Sunday night football. Lamar versus T-Law. Who do you guys got in this one?
Go at AFC North, man.
So I'm gonna take the Jacksonville Jaguars in this football game. I think the biggest reason for me right now is really just knowing that Baltimore is in a spot where they're kind of running a gauntlet right now. Like last week, the Rams game, a lot closer than people were expecting to be. Took them to overtime. Now you have to turn around, face a Jacksonville team that's coming off of a loss that they probably had penciled in as a win. I know the Browns defense is playing well, but I think that was a game they had penciled in, and they thought that they were going to take another notch and potentially even slide into that 1 seed, depending on what other things happen in those games. So I think the Jags, I like them to bounce back this week. I know Kyle Hamilton has been at practice this week, but him not being 100% healthy, like that matters because he's playing at an all-pro level. Like he should be at this point in the season, he should be a first-team all-pro, and just not having him at 100%, I do think that matters. Baltimore is banged up, of course, in the secondary as well. So I like Trevor Lawrence to make enough plays to win that football game.
I agree. I think that Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars win this football game. I think they're the better football team, if I'm being completely honest, top to bottom. I think that Baltimore will cave in the playoffs, and I've mentioned that before. But I will say this. Kyle Hamilton and Roquan Smith are both first-team All-Pro guys. They're the best 2 at their position, in my opinion, in the NFL. I just think Jacksonville coming off of 2 losses, back-to-back losses, I think they come home, they get a win in Duval. Give me Jacksonville on Sunday Night Football.
I'm gonna go against you guys. I'm gonna go with Baltimore. The one thing that's been consistent in the last couple of weeks, and it's finally caught up with them, but their defense has not played well probably in about a month and a half. I think Baltimore's going to run the ball, and I think Baltimore's going to move the ball. As banged up as they are defensively, I think the front seven is still relatively healthy. I think they're going to slow down ETN. I think they're going to be in T-Law's face all night long. I like Baltimore pretty confidently on Sunday Night Football.
By the way, I just want to mention something. We are 0-2 since Eric Rosenblum has become a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So Eric's in the chat, right? Eric was a Giants fan. The Giants are 3-0 since he abandoned them, and the Eagles are 0-2 since he came over. I think losing just follows this man. Eric, I love you, but you do play on a team that loses every Tuesday night. You went from the Giants, who were losing, you switched over to an Eagles fan, and now we're losing. I don't know. It might be you.
And Andre, you missed the NFC South talk. None of us picked the Falcons to win the NFC South, so you would have been a little upset about that. But we did talk about how bad Desmond Ridder is and how you guys stink on the road. So
I think Andre would want them, and I mean this, right? I think Andre would want them to lose the rest of the year.
Nope.
And hold on, I'm going to help Andre. Listen to me. You want them to lose. You want them to get rid of Ridder. You want them to get rid of Arthur Smith. If you do that, you might have Justin Fields there next year. And if you have Justin Fields there next, he's wrong then.
I'm telling you, this is a guy who thinks Desmond Ridder, top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
He's out of his mind. There's no way.
I'm telling you.
He doesn't believe it.
I could pull the receipts. He probably thinks that the Falcons are going to win the bowl.
Me and Andre are close friends. We talked recently. He's changed his mind.
All right.
All right, let's get into NFL pick'em. We don't need to go over the Eagles Seahawks game. That's not a game, right? It shouldn't be a game. If the Eagles lose that football game, they deserve to lose. I'm below 500 again. Shalley's above number one. He's got 4 draws. My sneaky suspicion is they're all losses, and Shalley has kind of teetered the spread to make it look like they're wins, but that's okay.
Those 2.5 that end on 3. You think?
Yeah.
Bro, last week I literally had the Raiders +3 and they lost 3-0. It's wild.
I remember. I had that spread 2.5. I'm kidding. What's the order this week, Shal?
I mean, I'm gonna stay last. I'm hanging on by a thread here.
It's fine.
We'll go. We'll let Gene hit lead off, and we'll go Josh Cottrell in second.
I hope Wayne Curtis is listening. I think he is. I think I'm jumping the chat. I hope you're listening, buddy, because Sunday afternoon at 4:25, you will feel the pain that I felt last week because nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. Give me the Buffalo Bills -2.5 over Dallas. Letdown game. Why is the 10-3 Dallas Cowboys 2.5-point underdogs versus the struggling 7-6 Buffalo Bills? Yeah, that's right. Vegas wants you to bet on Dallas. 88% of the money is on the Dallas Cowboys. Give me the Buffalo Bills. I don't care. It could be by calls. It could be Joe Brady. It could be Josh Allen. I don't care how it happens. Give me the Buffalo Bills to beat the Cowboys. My second pick. This is terrible. I don't know why I'm doing it. It's awful. It's not a sharp pick. This is a square pick if you've ever seen one. I'll take the Lions. Dan Campbell bounces back -4 over the Denver Broncos. Broncos country, last ride. You lost me at the beginning of the season. I'm never betting on you again. Give me the Lions -4. The Denver Broncos can't stop the run. The Detroit Lions run the football like crazy. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, both have great weeks. I love the Lions in the spot -4. And in my third game this week, you're going to tell me Brandon Staley is going to coach up a backup quarterback to score more points? I seen this story already. Minnesota did it. They scored nothing. Give me the Raiders -2.5 over the Chargers. I'll take Aiden O'Connell over whoever Brandon Staley is throwing out this week. Give me the Raiders. The Raiders. And Antonio Pierce.
So I'll start there because that is a game that I'm also picking. Going a little bit of a different direction, though. I like the under 34.5 Chargers at Raiders. Raiders offense last week looked abysmal, and I get it. Brian Flores is great at, putting together a scheme to stop offenses, things like that. But scoring 0 points for an entire game against that Minnesota Vikings team is absolutely unacceptable. Chargers, I know they're going to struggle on offense to put up points. They struggle with Justin Herbert in there. So Easton Stick, I know they elevated Max Duggan as well. I think that they struggle to put up points. I like the under 34.5 there. Second game I got. Give me the Bengals -2.5 at home versus the Vikings. Jake Browning looking like, he's the heir apparent, Could we be looking at a Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady situation all over again? I don't know. But I like Jake Browning here. I think he puts up points, and so much uncertainty with the Vikings quarterback position. I know Nick Mullins is the starter now, but I just don't trust that Vikings offense, especially with Jettis banged up too. Last game I got. Give me the Chiefs -8.5 at the Patriots. One of these weeks, the Chiefs got to figure it out. And I know the Patriots looked great last week. They put up a ton of points versus the Steelers. But how bad that Patriots team is, if the Chiefs can't beat them by more than 8.5 points, then they got a serious problem on their hands. So I'm rolling with the Chiefs here. And those are my picks for the week.
So you guys have covered all 3 games I'm picking so far.
You.
I'm going to go against Gene in 2 of them, though. So changing of the guard or my lead's going to get bigger. It's going to be one or the other. If you followed this show, you probably know which way this is going to go. So I'm going to go Denver +4 at Detroit. I agree with Gene that Denver can't stop the run, but Detroit can't either, and Detroit can't stop the pass anymore. Their defense has been atrocious the last 4 weeks. One thing Denver can do is Denver can slow down Jared Goff and Amon St. Brown and all those guys. So I'll take the 4 points on the road. I think Denver's playing better football right now. I think you're starting to see the cracks in Detroit. I'll go Denver +4 on the road. I'm going to go get some at Buffalo as well. I was praying Orchard Park, middle of December. I'm expecting nasty weather and snow and wind drifts and all that crap. Not getting any of it. 50 and sunny. Give me the Cowboys +2.5. I think they're riding high. I think they're playing great football. I do agree. I think Buffalo's playing well. I also think Buffalo is just eking out wins, and they're getting away with certain things that I don't think they're going to get away with against Dallas. I think Josh Allen will have a great game. I do think he's probably going to have a turnover. And Cottrell hit it on the head for me perfectly. That defense, it's going to be the same excuse the Eagles had. You're not going to be able to sit back in zone against those receivers and Dak Prescott all day. Give me Dak +2.5 and the Cowboys on the road. Last but not least, I'm going to go with Cottrell on this one. Give me Jake Browning, the new Joe Burrow. Cincinnati Bengals -2.5 at home against Minnesota. Minnesota need to go to overtime to kick a field goal to win a game last week. On the road in Cincinnati against a team that has a lot of confidence and is rallying behind their backup quarterback. Seen that story before, and they have the weapons to do it. So give me the Bengals -2.5 at home.
I just want to post this up here. I let you know about me and Andre's conversation, Cottrell, and you didn't want to believe me. He said, I back my quarterbacks. Ritter just happens to be our guy now. I definitely would take Fields over Ritter.
I think you got – I think it's just – well, I don't know what to say you got. I just think it's weird that the assumption is that Chicago is just absolutely going to just move on from Fields because I don't –
If the number one over a pick, they're taking Caleb Williams. I'm telling you right now, they're doing it.
I think it depends who their head coach is.
They could sell the pick again. And get
I would sell the hell out of that pick.
I just want Justin Fields out of Chicago so
Me
bad.
Me too. No, I'm with you there. But I think you can get a king's ransom for Caleb Williams.
Damian Hernandez agrees with you. He said, Denver can't stop the run. Neither can the Lions. The defense is trash. And then Kyle said, keep Dalton Zappy. Patriots +9.5.
I think that's the trap game of the week. I really do. I think Kansas City is just playing awful football.
He said Fields is terrible. I can't wait till y'all see it.
See, but I'm sure Alex also thinks Brock Purdy's the MVP of the league. And look, I saw what Brock looked like when Trent Williams and CMC and Debo and all those guys were out. Not taking that as a shot.
Not allowing Brock hate on the show today. You can't do it.
Yeah, I
There's
sure
no
can.
Brock hate today.
I can.
No, you
not
can't.
My hashtag. Not my MVP.
He's the MVP of the league.
Gene, who would it take for you to coach for the Bears to keep Fields and then sell the one pick and drop back to like 3 or 4 and take Harrison.
Brian Flores.
I think he's going to be a very viable option there.
I think if Brian Flores goes to Chicago and they hire an offensive coordinator to work with Fields, a good offensive coordinator, I think that Chicago Bears team could be the best team in the NFC within 2 years.
I'm going to go that far. I think they definitely become the best.
I
team.
do.
And they're going to have
the first
two,
pick, and they're going to have a 16 pick,
yeah.
2 first rounders.
Well, I mean, you're not taking a quarterback anymore then. But like I said,
No,
I think
sell the pick. You go down to 3 or 4. You add Marvin Harrison Jr. You add an lineman, and you have Flores running that defense with Montez Sweat. Oh, you know the Bears defense is like 2nd or 3rd in football since Sweat's been there.
And the other thing too is that, you know, looking at their team, Justin Fields is still not under that 2nd contract yet, so they're going to have a boatload of money to still invest in. Maybe some bridge guys. You know, if you decide that Fields is your guy and you sign him to an extension. Or maybe he's not. You just you ride it out and do the Daniel Jones kind of deal where, you know, you get his 5th year and then you give him a little 2-year deal.
Could you imagine if they signed him to an extension now at a discount instead of waiting? And they've really bought into him and signed him to an extension now.
I don't think they should.
$1 million a year.
That's what they should do. It's not what he should not do.
I agree.
You can't sign that extension not knowing who your coach is going to be next year.
No, I'm not saying now. You bring him in a room, Poles and Flores, sit him down. Like, Justin, you're our guy. We're not taking a quarterback 1. We want to sign you an extension right now.
Yeah, if Flores or somebody like that is hired at that point, then yeah, absolutely.
Take take Daniel Jones deal. 4 years, you can get out after 2.
Where you draft your boy.
Deal. Talk about the Daniel Jones deal. How bad did that deal look,
bro? If he wins another 2 games, what are they going to do? You can't really if DeVito goes and wins like another 2 games or something. I don't know how you could just walk back into this team.
To all
the problem is
premises last year, be like, oh, dang it, yeah, but one of those games might not matter for us. That's the problem.
All the people that said Daniel Jones was a good quarterback. Ha 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 ha.
Bro, they might have a $40 million backup quarterback next year.
He's terrible.
Hilarious to me.
They were 2-8 with him. Tommy Cutlets is 3-0.
It's hilarious. They're gonna have to have an open quarterback competition next year and then possibly have a $40 million.
Have you seen that guy's agent, bro? Is that not the funniest thing ever?
The whole thing. As soon as it happened, the memes started popping up on Twitter, dude. It's got a life of its own. Especially with it being in New York, just makes it even that much better.
The funny thing is, too, is that even before Tommy took over, Tyrod Taylor had that Giants offense playing inspired too. So I don't know what you do with your Daniel Jones. I mean, is he going to be your $40 million backup quarterback? I mean, Brian Dable is a guy. To me, I think Brian Dable is a guy that cares more about winning football games more than he cares about who he's doing it with. And I think there is a strong possibility that Daniel Jones is the backup quarterback in New York next year.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. I would love nothing more. Daniel Jones stinks.
Is Tyrod Taylor not the most snake-bitten quarterback in the history of
the NFL?
Not
snake-bitten. He's injury prone.
But I mean, it's like sometimes it's just like it's like weird shit.
It happened in Buffalo. It happened in Cleveland. It happened in LA. It happened in New York. I'm sorry.
He gets the worst injuries though. Like neck injuries or like a rib injury.
Yeah, but it's
like
LA, bro. Same thing.
Like what? But like the LA thing though, like let me check your ribs. Oh, sorry, I just punctured your lung. Like it's like wow, like I guess we're gonna start Herbert now, and he's just sitting on the sideline. He came and breathed, and he's like, I'm never gonna play here again. Like it's awful.
Same thing in Cleveland. I mean, he had the starting job. I think he was 2-2, and then he gets hurt. He goes down, and Baker comes in and never look at Tyrod again.
It's wild, man.
He's a good backup quarterback for teams to have. He's going to make decent money being a backup somewhere else next year. It is what it is. He's made a ton of money really never being a starter. All right, we got to move on. We talked a lot of football. First hour of the show. We have 3 more topics for the second hour of the show. So the first thing we got to talk about is the contract heard around the world Shohei Ohtani. He switched from the Bloods to the Crips. I mean, listen, it's LA. He went from red to blue. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say. That's what he did, right? Shohei Ohtani is now a Dodger. Now, it's not about Shohei Ohtani being a Dodger. I don't even think it's about the $700 million contract. The issue I have with it is they deferred $68 million of the contract so they can go out and they're going to go out and get, oh my God, this Dodgers team is going to break baseball.
They are.
What they're going to do. Well, they're going to break baseball because now Yamamoto's going there. And then after that, Hader's going there.
Maybe and Juan Soto next year.
Rosarena there.
You're glossing over the one fact of this. I don't think Yamamoto's going there because they're getting really close to get to trade for Tyler Glass now today. That's probably going to be done by tonight. He defers his money, but the way this works, obviously the whole 70 doesn't go towards the salary cap. But he still has a $46 million hit per year. So this isn't them getting him for $2 million a year against the cap for the luxury tax. So he's still saving them a ton of money. Don't get me wrong. He still has a $46 million cap hit on the balance sheet for this year. So they will obviously the Dodgers have money to spend still. Don't get me wrong. They will be very good, but it's not like they're getting him for $2 million and they'll be like, oh, we have $100 million more dollars to spend now because they don't.
I understand, but Yamamoto met with the Dodgers 5 hours ago, and they're saying that he's close to signing in LA. So if they sign Yamamoto and they trade for Glass now, or they sign Yamamoto and they get Randy Arozarena like they're talking about, and Jake Hader's going to go there. Like Josh Hader, sorry, is talking about going there. So it's incredible that they can pull off the heist of the century.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's they are selling their souls for the next 10 years, and I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do because when his deferment's up and they got to start paying him $68 million a year, it gets real interesting with how they're going to balance that on the spreadsheet of what their payroll is going to look like.
By the way, I have to give a quick shout out. Tiny and now Travis Zachary both sent 100 stars. We appreciate you guys. Your stars allow us to continue doing what we're doing, and they continue to support us. So thank you so much for that. I just wanted to, take the second to shout them out. Continue, Shelly. I apologize
it's all good.
The interruption.
Two of our best fans. So. But again, if you win 2 or 3 World Series in those 10 years, is it worth it? Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's the best player in baseball. There's downside to this, and I think a lot of people are in the shock and awe of what's going on and the money and the numbers and all this and all that, and that's fine. This is a guy he's on his 3rd elbow injury now. That's not something to just take lightly. He didn't have the surgery again. It's rehab it and see what goes. If he becomes just a DH, just not that it blows up in their face, but you're paying a $70 million DH at that point. They're gonna get Walker Buehler back next year. Urias is obviously out of baseball at this point. But if all these things come to fruition, if they get Arozarena and Hader and Yamamoto and Glass now and all these guys. I mean, Atlanta and Philly and a couple other teams are, they're gonna have to change the strategy for the offseason. Because I think the Dodgers were obviously the odds-on favorite team to land him because of their money and the way they spend. But I think if they get him on top of all these other people that you're talking about, Gene, then I don't think anybody saw that coming. So at that point, I think it is. I think things would change. I think people are going to have to get more aggressive than they thought they were going to have to this offseason to kind of keep pace. And I'll say what I said before. Everybody thought the Padres and the Dodgers were going to run away with everything the last 4 or 5 years. Dodgers have won 1 World Series. Padres didn't make the playoffs last year. You never know. Baseball's a long, a long season, but on paper right now, the Dodgers are just, that lineup's going to be stupid.
I don't know.
if
Shout out to Brett Garda 2, Garda 3, sending 100 stars. Appreciate you, brother. Just wanted to make sure that shouted out. The projected lineup for the Dodgers is insane, though.
they're top three. They're top three.
Oh, hey, Freddie.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No,
You're probably gonna go Mookie, Freddie, Shohei, but yeah, it's nuts. It's stupid.
Like that 3 right there. I mean, those are 3 guys that could potentially all win MVP, and they're going back to back to back in the same lineup. So I think the interesting thing that you brought up is the real question mark here is what Shohei are we going to see on the mound? Because I mean, I think batting wise, I know we're not going to see it this year. I know not this year. But I just mean as a whole, like throughout these next 10 years, like if he gets to the point where the arm is deteriorated enough, like, do you think because of the money that they'll throw him in the bullpen, or is it just starting pitcher or bust at that point?
I don't know.
Glorified DH for $70 million, but like, I think you could find ways to still make him worth it, especially. And I do think 2 to 3 World Series will 100% make it worth it. And I do think that's something that's going to happen.
The reason I'm going to say no is because of this. If his arm is breaking down from the wear and tear of being a starter where he's pitching every 5 or 6 days, does he have the stuff to be a closer? Sure, he does. He throws 5 pitches over 90 miles an hour. They all move, and he throws them all for strikes. But that being said, closers got to pitch 3-4 times a week sometimes. I don't think he has the stamina or the arm to hold up to that. A lot of it's good. You'll know a lot next year, right at the beginning, of how he comes out in spring training and how, where his velo is. We've seen it before. We've seen other guys come back and, look at Jacob deGrom. Like, Jacob deGrom is arguably throwing harder now than he was 7 years ago when he started having arm issues. But on the other side of that, you have guys that come out of it that don't get it back. For every Jacob deGrom, there's a Noah Syndergaard. That dude used to throw 99 without blinking, and he's max effort 92 now. Yeah. Tyler Glasnow is another example. That kid came out of college and got to the pros. He was throwing 99, beat the Yankees in a wild card series a couple years ago. He had Tommy John, and he was mid-90s last year. I mean, it's you say a couple miles per hour, but in Major League Baseball, that means a ton. The difference between 96 and 99 is incredible. So, and we'll see what Walker Buehler looks like this year. So, you just never know. You never know how the body's going to respond. You never know what kind of whip you're going to have again with the elbow and the shoulder. It's some guys take longer, some guys get it back right away. So it's going to be interesting. He's still worth 40-45 million for his bat alone. But if you're not getting that extra, 15 to 18 wins out of him with the strikeouts and everything else as a pitcher, I mean, that's a big difference.
Before I reply, wow, thank you guys so much. Eric Rosenblum just said, I'll see your 100 stars and raise you 500. And then Travis Zachary said, I'll see your 500 and I'll see your 500 with 500 more. So really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the stars. It's very, very, very appreciated. But I will say this. If you get Shohei the way Shohei was the beginning of last year, and if you get Shohei that is a top 3 pitcher in baseball and a top 3 hitter in baseball, if you get that for 6 years, you might be the greatest player ever. It might be the best contract ever, because essentially you're paying a $35 million pitcher and a $35 million hitter in one player. So, like, I don't know. If I'm the Dodgers, I almost want him to have the surgery so he comes back fully healthy and I can get that $35 million pitcher, that $35 million hitter that's top 3 in baseball on both ends. Just saying. By the way, the news just came out, and we'll talk about this shortly. Draymond has been suspended indefinitely. We'll talk about that when we get to the in-season tournament stuff.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, I mean, again, this is going to be a wait-and-see type thing. I mean, you saw, even hitting-wise, I mean, you saw how long it took Bryce to adjust this year. And he didn't want to throw it all, and he didn't exactly have the power at the beginning of the year, and it was he struggled with aspects of it. So, we'll see. We'll see what he looks like. I think he was smart to stay in the warm weather. I thought everybody kind of thought he was going to do that regardless. He was going to stay down south or go out somewhere west. But if you're a Dodgers fan, I mean, I don't know how you could be any more happy. And now it's we'll see where other dominoes fall here in the next week or so. Like Gene said, with certain big names still left out there to sign, and also, I think certain teams' outlooks, have definitely changed. The Trout stuff picked back up again today. Now, again, I'm not saying he's coming here, but I don't know how Anaheim keeps him. They need to blow that team up and rebuild it, and having him on the team making $44 million a year is not going to help them. So I think they held a hope that they were going to re-sign Shohei, and they were going to have those two together. Obviously, with Shohei not being there now, I don't see how they keep Trout, and I don't think Trout's going to want to stay there now. So still got Blake Snell, Hader, all those guys out there too. So next couple of weeks will be a lot of fun. And like I said, I think if you're the Phillies, if you're the Braves, anybody in the Central, the Cubs, Cody Bellinger's still out there. That's another name that's been attached to the Phillies a little bit. I think this changes things. If you're one of those teams, I think you're probably hoping he stayed in the American League and you would just deal with him if you got to the World Series. But, now he's on your side. You're going to have to beat him to get through there to get to the World Series. So be really curious to see how teams adjust.
I don't know how much it changes, though, for like at least in terms of like this year, because you don't have to deal with his arm as well. Of course, talent wise, like you got to see him in the lineup. You definitely have to make adjustments there. But if you're a team like Atlanta, like I don't think you have to go scramble to make a rash move just to kind of combat that.
You're going to have to deal with it. I mean, he's a better hitter than he is pitcher, but at some point you're going to, if it's not this year, it's still going to be next year. He's going to be there for the next 9 years. Yeah. Atlanta, just like Philly, is in a huge, win now type of window. It's, these type of things, elicit reactions from other teams and organizations. And I think you're going to see that.
I think it's super interesting to see how everything breaks down. Eric asked the question. He said, which lineup is scarier, the Dodgers with their 4 or the Yankees? And I would say the Yankees lineup scarier. I mean, top to bottom, I think the Yankees have the best lineup in baseball. I don't think there's any doubt there.
I think once you get past Soto and Judge, there's people you can get out in the Yankees. I think
there's a lot of people you can get out in the Dodgers projected lineup. We can let's go through them. Let's go through them, and we'll talk about it right now. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So I'm just going by the projected lineups that are on Google. Is that okay? RotoCamp has both projected lineups. Can I use that?
Sure.
All right. So the Yankees projected lineup going into this season looks like it's going to open up with Alex Verdugo. Obviously, that's not that they're going to do the 2-3-4 thing.
So that's one for the Dodgers.
Obviously, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge. I mean, that's pretty close.
It's a wash.
Okay, we'll call it a wash. That's fair. Freddie Freeman, Juan Soto. Oh my God,
it's a wash.
It's a wash too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Freddie's been more consistent, but I mean, short porch in New York. I think Juan probably has a bounce back year. So
I think this is when it takes a turn for the Yankees. Gleyber Torres, Will Smith. Like Gleyber Torres has been better, man. He's been unbelievable.
Gleyber Torres has had 2 halves of good years in his 4-year career.
That's fair.
Will Smith's going to knock in 80 runs every year. I could see your argument there. I don't know what Gleyber I'm getting. If I'm getting in one of those halves of Gleyber for 162 games, then yeah, it's probably Gleyber. If not, I'll probably take Will Smith's consistency.
Okay. So then you got Anthony Rizzo and Max Muncy.
Both guys that need to have bounce back years. Muncy got hot at the end of the year last year. I don't think either guy batted over 220 last year. You could check
Muncy batted 226 and Rizzo batted 231.
There you go. Both well below their averages. So
Sure.
again, I think you could make a compelling argument for either way, but I think at the end of the day, you're probably splitting hairs no matter which way you go there.
Josh Outman versus Giancarlo Stanton.
It's Stanton if he stays healthy.
Okay.
Give
and
you that one.
Chris Taylor versus DJ LeMahieu.
This is close because DJ hasn't hit, I think, over 260 since he got traded to New York. This is Colorado DJ. I would tell you it's DJ in a landslide, but it's close.
Austin Wells, who came on strong for the Yankees last year, and Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward has been terrible.
Yeah, Jason Hayward's there to play right field because they're moving Mookie Betts to second base permanently next year. And
then you end with Volpe and Gavin Lux, which are basically the same player.
Gavin
Lux is shortstops that could be young, up and coming players. I think Lux is better. If I'm being honest right now, I think Volpe will be better. Is that fair? Can I say that? Volpe, especially if Lux coming off that injury, man. That injury was ugly.
Yeah, Lux is definitely the better defender, and Volpe is probably the more prominent power hitter. I agree with you. I think Lux is the better player at this point. So we just went through it. It's tit for tat, like right down the line.
Control. After hearing it, what would you? Who's line? Just line up. Not pitching staff, not division, not team, not manager.
Pitching's not close.
Of course, that's the point.
Just hearing it, and I'm looking at it myself here. I'd probably give slight edge to the Dodgers.
Okay.
But I'm not. I definitely think it's a toss up. Like I think these guys are probably 1-2.
Yeah, you have them. Back in a lineup just doesn't seem fair. Like, especially that short porch in Yankee Stadium, they might hit. I'm serious when I say this. Between the two of them, they might hit 100 home runs.
I don't think that's crazy at all. Like I thought you were going to go high, like 120.
You know what the difference is? The Dodgers will make the playoffs, and the Yankees won't. So
the Yankees 100% make the playoffs next year. 100%.
With who?
They're going to make it. They're going to go get a.
They are signing a pitcher.
They're going to go get a pitcher. They're going to go get a pitcher. If not two,
we'll see. Until they do,
no doubt in my mind. The Yankees
until they do, they're not better than Toronto, and they're definitely not better than Baltimore. So,
matter of fact, I bet Yankees might go get a guy like Shane Bieber just to go be their number two. Okay. And then they're going to go out and get somebody else.
If it was Shane Bieber from 5 years ago, I'd be excited. Shane Bieber's on the back end of his fucking career.
I get it. I'm just saying, like you can get a starting pitcher that's going to be on one of these teams that
it's fine
aren't contending.
That's what they had last year. They had Garrett Cole and 4 guys that they thought all were to win 10 to 12 games, and it didn't happen. And they're in the same boat they are now. Severino's
but we knew that, though. We knew that.
And it's the same now. What's changed?
Nothing has changed yet. I'm saying if they go out there and
Garrett Cole, that's a big if. That's what I'm saying. As we sit right now, they're not making the playoffs. And all the Yankees fans can come for me all you want. I've been right the last 3 or 4 years. They haven't done dick. They got Garrett Cole and a bunch of stiffs. That's what they got.
Blake Snell's still available. Sonny Gray's still available.
Sonny Gray's not available. He's signed with St. Louis. Sonny Gray's gone.
You're right.
Kyle Gibson is gone. Blake Snell, the rumor Blake Snell's going to Baltimore. That's the rumor.
That's perfect for Blake Snell. He doesn't want to play in a big city.
Agreed. And it's great for Baltimore. See, here we go. Here come all the Yankees people. Guys, every year I hear the same damn thing. We're going to be great. We're going to be great. And then you guys are sitting there 88 losses with 3 weeks to go because Garrett Cole's your only pitcher.
Okay. So, that's all we got for Ohtani. We'll move into the NBA in-season tournament.
Yeah, let's get to that rigged event.
It wasn't rigged. Come on, bro.
Rigged.
I don't think it was rigged. The Los Angeles Lakers, I will say this. if you want, I have a backup for you. Got to be kidding me. And
Yeah.
if someone's using the Kadarius Toney thing, then I have one. So don't worry. But we got to talk about the in-season tournament, and the Lakers absolutely ran through it. Right? They dominated the last 2 games. They beat very up and stark Indiana Pacers team, and they beat Zion Williamson, who, by the way, and somebody's already using this too, so I can't really go too far into that, but the comments made about him are a little unfair after taking his team to the semifinals of the in-season tournament in the regular season. I will say this, it is a regular season tournament. I almost think it's laughable that they're hanging a banner for the in-season tournament.
For once, I agree with Godfrey.
You agreed. I thought it was very entertaining. You didn't like it?
I mean, if you're somebody that likes watching basketball, like, it was definitely entertaining. Like, you could tell teams got up for those games, and outside like that the Bucks Pacers game, like, I don't know how you could watch like that entire game and think that this wasn't a successful thing. Like, I think I was fully against it at first. I thought Adam Silver was out of his mind, just putting some stuff together, trying to get people in. But surprisingly enough, these players going out playing for $500K and winning this in-season tournament that actually got a good product out there on the court. So I'm perfectly fine with it. I thought it was entertaining, as a whole. I will say, the court, I need them to fix that, because the red courts, the green courts, the yellow courts, I hate seeing that. Like, if you give me like some old school, like NBA Finals courts, you put the NBA Cup there in the center with the team logo. Like, I think that'd be pretty cool. But the green, the red, I think that's the biggest flop of the in-season tournament.
I agree with Kyle. He said that was forward from the beginning, and it was a success by miles. It was. And if you want to know how much of a success it was, just look at the ratings from the in-season tournament finals. It was incredible. They had a ton of people watching it. They got people excited about regular season basketball. But that's what it is. It's regular season basketball. And on a scale of 1 being the All-Star game, which is an absolute joke, and 10 being winning an NBA Finals, the in-season tournament is a shade above a regular season game at like a 4 or a 5 on a scale 1 to 10. For you to hang a banner is baffling to me. I heard that news and they're going to honor, what did they do it last night? They honored LeBron James and Anthony Davis for 22 minutes before a basketball game for winning an in-season tournament. Like, we're going to start, what is it going to be a ring now? We're going to compare it to what now? LeBron's got 5. He's got 4 in an in-season one. Like, that's not real, right? Like, that can't be what LeBron fans are doing right now. Like, they can't do that. Like, that's laughable. And that's the part that bothers me. I don't want you to do that. It's the only reason I didn't want the Lakers to win the in-season tournament is because now it becomes, oh, LeBron's got 5 rings, Jordan's got 6, one more, and he's there. Like, no, dude, stop that.
I definitely agree. I agree with you. I agree with you there. I do think, though, the banner idea, because originally the Lakers came out and said they weren't putting one up like before the finals happened. They said if they won, they weren't going to do it. I think that was more so from the NBA. I think it's crazy still, regardless of who it's from, putting up a banner for that. I mean, you got your trophy, you got your money. Like, just let that be that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe if you put up like a little poster in your concourse, like next to the concession stand, like maybe that can do, and you got a picture with everybody. But the banner thing is crazy, especially for a team like the Lakers that they got 17 other ones, real championships hanging up there. Like, why are you putting this banner that looks out of place?
Yo, Godfrey's great. It's the WWE now. Let's make up titles. Who's the European champ?
He's not wrong.
Now, I do want to talk this comment real quick, because he's wrong. This guy's wrong. Damian Hernandez, I love you. This in-season tournament is the stupidest idea. I was never interested in it at all. Didn't even watch a single game. I get Adam Silver is trying to help the league from losing ratings, but he did help the league from losing ratings.
Not, Damian, you're probably not a basketball fan. That's probably why you didn't watch it. Like, if you are a fan of NBA, or even if you're just like a casual fan, you tuned in for some in-season tournament games. Like that's just the nature of the beast, especially, once the final bracket was set up. Like, I mean, they were the only games on. So, I mean, if you want to just casually watch basketball, you watch some in-season tournament games. So it's not for everybody, and everybody's not going to be, a fan of it. But Adam Silver set out a goal to get people interested in regular season basketball games, and people were 100% more interested than they would have been in years past. So I don't know how you can say it's not a success.
At 5.6 million viewers. It was up 46% from last year's regular season opener, and it was the highest rated NBA basketball game, regular season basketball game in 6 years. It was absolutely a win for the NBA. Like, we can't say it was stupid. It worked.
And you know what's funny? I would not be surprised by any means if Rob Manfred looks at this and is like, this is a good idea. Maybe we should put this shit together in the ML to get some ratings. We shortened the games, and we did this, we did that. Maybe the in-season tournament is the thing that's going to get everybody back into baseball.
It won't work in baseball because of the way they play series. But no, I mean, I'll say the same thing I said before. I think 3 or 4 years down the road from now, I think when every team starts taking this seriously is when you're going to see it become a huge thing. You have to give them credit. I mean, they scheduled it the right way. They scheduled the championship game for a Saturday night, and wedged it between football when there's no college football on. They did the right thing there. They gave it its own night, which was the perfect thing to do. And they had it in host city in Vegas. I don't know if they're going to rotate that or if it's going to be in Vegas every year. My hunch is it'll probably be in Vegas every year, but I mean, you can't. Yeah, I don't think you can call it. You might not like it, which is fine. But I mean, you can't say that it wasn't successful. But I think 3 or 4 years from now, I think once every team takes it serious and then maybe makes moves and schedule certain things around it, and every team is actively trying to win it, then I think it gets real interesting. Then I think it becomes a really I would say high tense, but it becomes a very coveted, title at that point.
I mean, the ratings as a whole are up 7% for the NBA this year, which is a huge number to be up when you're talking about overall ratings. I got to give them credit. It worked out. But I will say this, and I just want to be clear when I say this, right? It proved 3 things to me. Number 1, LeBron James and Anthony Davis and the Lakers can win games when they matter and when they want to win games. So they're going to be a formidable opponent come playoffs this year, which if you didn't know that already, you should know it now because they wanted to win and they won. It proved 2, that people will be interested in regular season NBA games if you discourage load management and you put something on the line. And number 3, there's a lot of delusional idiots that talk about basketball. Calling this an NBA championship is absurd. It's not the same thing. Please stop. No. I don't think it's as like Olympic gold medal is higher.
Facts.
Absolutely.
Like it's NBA championship, Olympic gold medal. I don't know.
FIBA World
FIBA
Cup
basketball
medal.
World Championship, then in season tournament, right?
Yeah, it's bottom. Yeah, it's bottom of. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these players
you step above regular season, best record in basketball.
You go ask a guy like Jalen Brunson or Dante DiVincenzo, hey, what would you rather have, a national championship or in-season tournament trophy? They're going to tell you in-season tournament, national championship every single time. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's a regular season thing. These guys played hard, but that's what it is. I'm with you, Gene, 100%. You can't look at it like it's a championship that's won or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, 20 years from now, we'll probably remember who won the first one because it was the first one. But we're not going to be talking about, hey, remember they won the third, NBA in-season tournament and then, the 4th one, 5th one, things like that. So just got to take it for what it is and just notice that better basketball is being played. You had even in some of these blowout games, like the Celtics had their starters on the court. They might have been down 15 or up 15, but they were trying to build that cushion. You just got so much better of a basketball product than you normally would have, in this situation.
Couldn't agree with you more. That's the fact right there. Any other in-season tournament conversations before we get into UFC? I do want to read out a couple comments.
I was gonna say we got to talk little Draymond.
Oh yeah, yes, correct. Let's talk about that now because I'm sure no one's had it lined up for you. Got to be kidding me, guys. Can we just be clear? You got to be kidding me. No one has Draymond lined up.
No.
Okay, so Draymond Green has been suspended indefinitely from the NBA for his flailing slap of Yusuf Nurkic last night. I think it's a little over the top. Now, let me be clear. I might be on my ledge, and that's okay.
You're not.
I think that Draymond Green needs to learn how to control his emotions. I think a sit down with the commissioner and a 5-game suspension would have sufficed. Maybe 8. Maybe you go nuts and just 8. It's not right to suspend a guy indefinitely for a non-punch when you've seen punches thrown on the court. Now, Draymond does have a history. I'm a fan of Draymond, right? I'm one of the only people that's not a Golden State Warriors fan that is a fan of the way he plays basketball. I love it, right?
Same.
But he's got to control his emotions. He's got to control his temper. This is not the first time. This is not the second time. This is the third time it's happened this year. I think he has 8 technicals already. It's kind of absurd.
And then missed the first couple weeks of the season, so it's actually when you factor per game, it's even worse.
He's got to learn how to calm himself down. There's a way to get emotional in a game and impact a game with physicality, and then there's swinging your hands and hitting someone multiple times now in an NBA season.
So here's my thing. I agree with you. To be honest, I thought that how Adam Silver works and how, they go about everything. I thought this was going to be another 5-6 game suspension. And I looked at their schedule. That would have put him back right in time for Christmas. He would have been, on prime time with Clay and Steph and those guys playing in the Christmas game. But they suspended him indefinitely here. And I understand the hit on Nurkic was very excessive. He absolutely shouldn't have done it. You have to punish him for that. It is way more egregious that he went out and ran over from the other end of the court to go put Rudy Gobert in a chokehold, and you gave him 5 games for that. I understand the fallout because of everything that's happened. I understand he has his history. I understand you're kind of thinking hey, you didn't learn your lesson from that. We're gonna try and prove a lesson here, but you got to go off precedent here. I think 5 games would have been the perfect amount. You sit him down, you make him do all that nonsense that you made Kyrie do, and send him to anger management and make sure he sits down with Adam Silver. Do whatever you need to do, but suspending him indefinitely for that, I just don't fully understand. I know it's the history, but that action doesn't warrant an indefinite suspension.
His comments, I'm not one to apologize for things I mean to do, but I do apologize to Yusuf because I didn't intend to hit him. I sell calls with my arms, so I was selling the call and I swung, and unfortunately I hit him. Like I said, if I ever intended to do that, then I would feel awful about not being there, but my intentions were just to sell the foul.
Yeah, so this is, I agree with both of you completely. I mean, this is where his history catches up to him. And is factored into this. For me, I kind of agree with Cottrell. I'm just going to word it differently. This isn't the one that I would have died on the hill with if I was Adam Silver. This isn't the one. I think he's gotten less games for worse things that you could say were borderline. Did he mean to do it? We're not sure if he meant to do it. And I've stuck up for him in certain situations. I know Gene has, and I've buried him in other ones. This isn't the one to me to be like, oh, well, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. We're going to suspend him indefinitely, because that is what it is. I mean, this wasn't like spinning around. He's like, oh, I'm gonna hit this guy in the jaw and try to knock him out. It wasn't even a closed fist, like Gene said. It was a smack. This just isn't serious enough for me to make the league jump in and be like, you know what, we're sitting him down indefinitely until we figure out what we want to do with him. This just isn't the situation to do it. he's constantly getting teased and getting barking at referees, and he does have to change all that because he does hurt his team sometimes. But this for me, this is a lot to do about nothing. Like Gene said, give him 2 or 3 games because of his history. I look at it this way: if this was somebody who didn't have a history, he's not getting suspended. Probably gets thrown out of the game like he did, and that's the end of it. So okay, so he's got a laundry list long of past indiscretions and suspensions and flagrant twos and all that good stuff. Fine, that's fine. Like Gene said, give him 3, give him 5 games, walk away and be done with it. You're making it a bigger deal than what actually happened by coming out and suspending him indefinitely now. Like, this is a bigger story than it needs to be. I
think it's 5 games.
I just don't think it's that egregious. I just don't.
They said they're taking into account this third act of third ejection system already this year, so they're using it as a whole. Like he's not learning from previous ejections, so they're suspending him. But
that's dumb too, because
I agree.
When Draymond gets, I get it. He's had some suspensions earlier, like already this season, obviously with the choke, and then he had another 1 game before that. But I think if you look at this as a whole, and I bet the NBA PA, like their Players Association, is going to fight this and try to navigate and make it as short as possible. Maybe it ultimately ends up being like 5 games. If Devin Booker does this to Kevon Looney, what are we saying then? Like a guy who hasn't done it at all.
Ejection, that's it.
We're calling it a flagrant 2, and we're not even talking about it.
Yep.
So, again, I understand it's the history. You can't give Draymond the benefit of the doubt right now. This is a 5-game max suspension to me, and probably less than that if you only gave him 5 for choking out Rudy Gobert, just a couple weeks ago.
All right, we got to move on. We got UFC. We're running up against it, so let's get into our UFC card for Edwards versus Covington, UFC 296, Pantoja versus Royval 2. We also have some undercard fights on this card. I kind of want to run through the undercard quickly, and then we can get into the 2 main fights. I don't want to skip over this undercard like we did the last card, because if I'm being honest with you, this card is much better. As far as not as far as viewing, as far as names, as far as fights. Obviously, the last card that we covered was a great view. I think it had 7 total rounds, UFC 295. But Ian Gary, undefeated, is going to open up the card versus Vicente Luque. Ian Gary, this is another step for him. I love Ian Gary in this fight. Your thoughts on the Ian Gary thing? He's 13-0. He's been dominant. He's won all his fights unanimously or by knockout. He just beat Neil Magny in his last fight. Pretty big win for him. Vicente Luque is another stepping stone for him. Anyone see this fight going differently?
Ian Gary stoppage.
I don't think he stops him, but I do think Ian Gary wins a rather convincing fight.
Stoppage. Book it.
Now,
Vicente
I know
Luque is tough man.
He is very tough. I know that Tony Ferguson has been on a getting knocked out streak. I guess they're trying to line up Paddy Pimblett a big fight because of his name and the things that he says. I watched Paddy Pimblett's last fight, which happened a year ago.
That he lost?
Jared Gordon, which I think he should have lost, and they gave him a win for. He's never fought anybody of Tony Ferguson's caliber before, and yet we're sitting looking at this card and we're saying Paddy Pimblett's a -320 favorite over Tony Ferguson. You guys are out of your friggin' mind. I know Tony Ferguson's a walking corpse. I don't think Paddy Pimblett's got the knockout power to really knock out Tony Ferguson. I think Ferguson beats him, and I will be sprinkling a little coin on Ferguson plus money.
I said in the chat today, I said the same thing. I think Tony Ferguson wins. He switched up his camp. He went on a find your soul type excursion with David Goggins, who's a crazy marathon ex-Navy SEAL guy out of his mind. and he's the first guy that's ever, gotten through it all and kept up with them. There's all those videos of Tony constantly throwing up, trying to keep up, but not quitting. I think he gets it done. I agree. I think Patty's kind of a, I don't want to call him a one-trick pony, but he kind of is. And I agree with Gene. I don't think he's ever fought anybody near the level of what he's getting in the cage with Saturday night. I think Tony at plus 340 or whatever he is, right around there. I think you're crazy not to sprinkle some money, like Gene said.
And I got Tony in this fight as well. I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. Paddy Pimblett is not a good fighter at this point. Gene referenced his last fight against Jared Gordon. He 100% lost that fight. It's not that I think he lost it or I thought Jared Gordon won. He 100%
it's not
lost
listed as a loss. So I read.
I know. I get that, but I'm just, if you watch that fight, Jared Gordon 100% won that fight. If Paddy Pimblett didn't have that name associated with him, there's a few guys that are going to get the benefit of the doubt. Paddy just happens to be one of those guys, especially right now. Jared dominated that fight. He won a 2-1 decision, clear cut to me. But as far as this fight goes, I like Tony. I think Tony is going to be able to outclass Paddy. Paddy is going to be at his best when he's on the ground. You're not going to be able to easily get Tony Ferguson on the ground, and he's going to stand and bang with you as well. So I like Tony. Him at plus 240, it just seems like a gift. This is an early holiday present for every real UFC fan out there.
Now, could this next fight be a prelim to like the winner? Like this fight, this guy is being set up to be on the same card as Covington Edwards. Shavkat Rakhmonov is fighting Wonderboy Thompson, and Wonderboy is a plus 450 dog because Shavkat is that dude. Shavkat's 17-0, and I think it's 17 stoppages. I don't even think he's made it to a decision card yet. He subbed Jeff Neal Magny, Alex Oliveira. He has a lot of big wins in his career. He's 5-0 in the UFC. Is this another bump in the road for Shavkat? Could Shavkat be the next 170 contender for the title? Could he win this fight convincingly enough to get him a shot at the winner of Edwards Covington?
I don't think he necessarily gets that shot just because I do think Bilal Muhammad is really that guy there waiting. I think he's earned the right for that shot. So I don't think Shavkat is necessarily next up, but I will say Shavkat fights like a literal robot. That first round, I'm not going to lie, Stephen Thompson's probably going to beat him that first round because he collects his data. He sees what moves are going to be where, and he sees where he can take advantage. And then after that, he could sub him, he could knock him out. Like Shavkat is that guy. I 100% understand where this line's at. I don't know exactly where Shavkat gets the win, but I just throw him in the parlays, kind of just like a gift. I don't see how Wonderboy beats him, especially knowing that Wonderboy is going to try and kickbox with him. I just think Shavkat's way too dangerous to win that fight.
I think at this point in their career, I think Shavkat's the better fighter. That being said, we say it a million times, styles make fights. Wonderboy has made it this far in his career because how awkward he is. And a lot of guys have a lot of trouble once they're in there and in front of him to actually try to, cut the ring off and actually, make solid contact with him. He's a very awkward style. He has very awkward movements. That being said, I don't think Wonderboy's won a significant fight, of any huge magnitude anyway, in a couple years. I'm not saying for fun, I would sprinkle on him and Tony, in the same parlay because your odds would be astronomical if you do it. I think he loses, but I think this is a fight where, let's put it this way. I think this fight's close to the end. I don't know if it gets stopped. I don't know what happens. I don't think Wonderboy pulls it out. I think this is a very competitive, very close fight, and Wonderboy makes him earn it. I'll say that.
Okay. Pantoja versus Royval 2. If you didn't watch the first fight, Pantoja subbed Royval in the second round of it. He's the better fighter of the two, and he's the minus 190 favorite for a reason. The reason Royval gets a ton of credit is because he is very good technically he's a good sub fighter, but he's also can knock you out. He's got that ability in his hands to stop you. Pantoja is the champion for a reason. He's been incredible in this division. He's ran through most people basically anyone in front of him. His last loss was to Askarov like 3.5 years ago. I think Pantoja wins this fight again. I think he's running out of people to fight. I don't know why it would be different than the first Royval fight, but maybe Cottrell can sprinkle in some knowledge and let me know something differently. I got Pantoja in this one. I think it's a good fight. It might go 3, it might go 4, but I think the ultimate decision is still Pantoja.
So I think for me, this fight is interesting because, you mentioned Royval and his, him being as technical as he is. I agree with you. I think that is exactly why this fight is going to be, why that line is where it's at. Now, the one thing that I don't necessarily love, I get it. You got to put Pantoja up against somebody. Royval, yes, he's won his last few fights, but when he's in those fights with the top guys in that division, he comes out on the wrong side of them. So I like Pantoja to win this fight as well. To be honest, I think it's a repeat of the same way it happened last time. I got Pantoja this time in the 3rd round, but I think he subs him. I think it's a rear naked, similar to how he got Moreno out of there as well.
I'm gonna agree with both you guys. I think -190 for a champion is not an overwhelming line or a huge favorite by any means. But that being said, I think the biggest thing for me, after going back and watching some stuff today that I did at lunch, I kind of really fall along the same lines as Cottrell. I think Royval's a nice fighter. I think when you see him take that step up to the elite, it's kind of where you see him kind of hit his ceiling. I think Pantoja, as long as he doesn't go in there, try to do something stupid or doesn't get too bored or anything like that, I think eventually he just starts breaking him down. I think he finds a way to win the fight. I think he stops it in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't think it goes 5.
Maybe you know something that I don't, Cottrell. Is there a reason why Amir Albazi didn't get this fight instead of Royval?
I think with Albazi, I was going to say I think he got hurt. And like it messed up the timing of camps.
Okay, yeah. That's why I thought he hurt his hand or something like that.
That's fair.
Like it messed up with the timing of camps at the time that it happened. Obviously, they didn't want to run the fight right back with Moreno. Figueiredo went up in weight, so I think he's probably going to be your next in line here if they don't make him fight Moreno.
Godfrey, I will make this bet with you since. I'll make this bet if Tony loses. I want a free Wire2Wire hoodie. But if you win, I want you to throw 1,000 stars in the comments next week. Is that fair?
But
I mean, listen, guys, I'll get you a free Wire2Wire hoodie if he loses, if you make the bet. But if you lose, I want you to drop 1,000 stars in the comments next week. Let me know if you're up for it.
So Godfrey's all in on Pemley.
No, I'll make the bet if Tony loses, though, because Tony's been a corpse, and I get it. Let's get to the main event of the evening. Leon Rocky Edwards. Colby Chaos Covington. Can someone tell me how the hell Colby's plus money in this fight? Am I going to put $500 on Colby Covington? Like, this is what I have to do. Like, I feel like I'm with you. I shouldn't be getting.
Why? Listen. Anytime we do UFC stuff, I always look at the fights and break down who I think is going to win before I look at the odds because I don't like that swaying my decision. So that being said, Gene, to say that I was surprised when I looked at these finally today, yeah, I was a little bit surprised.
I do the odds in my head of what I think they should be, and then I look at them. And I looked at this fight as a -155 Colby Covington favorite. That's how I graded it. -155 Colby, +135 Leon. That's how I would have put it.
I was right there with you.
I was just mind-boggling.
I was shocked to see Colby as a plus money. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like we all agree here that Colby's going to get the win. I think this is probably outside of that Tony fight, because I really see, like, I'm adamant about Tony winning that fight. I think this is probably the second easiest fight on the card to pick. Colby Covington's pace and his relentlessness is going to be a problem for Rocky. And I get it. You were able to stuff the takedowns against Kamaru. The thing with Colby, and Kamaru said it perfectly earlier on with an interview with Daniel Cormier, Colby is not going to stop or get discouraged because you stuff his takedown. If anything, he's going to just keep coming at you with pace, and he's going to get you to the ground, and he's going to make you uncomfortable. Colby is a guy that's going to outpace him in terms of strikes, and he's also going to outpace him in terms of takedowns attempted and successful takedowns. So I think this has Colby by decision written all over it. Maybe Leon wins round one. He's got, he's full energy, he's keeping his distance, things like that. Colby's not able to get him down, but I got this being a Colby win 4-1, and you get a new champ, and he brings that 170 belt back to the U.S.
I think if he wins the fight, it makes the 170 division so much more fun because you have a person that you can actively root against because he plays that villain role so well.
For sure.
Whereas Leon Edwards, I don't know, man. I'm not excited to watch a Leon Edwards card. I'm not a huge fan of his, if I'm being honest. I'm not a fan. I hate Colby Covington. I would, if I wasn't going to bet on the fight, which I am, on Colby Covington, I'd probably root for Leon Edwards. But I don't see, like, Leon Edwards would have to catch Colby Covington the way he caught Kamaru Usman.
Agreed.
In a way that Colby just doesn't see coming.
Yeah, I think both you guys, for me, I mean, Colby is just going to keep coming forward. That's what he does. I think you can deal with it for spurts at a time. Most fighters do not like moving backwards for 25 minutes. They just don't like it. Colby has good enough striking that if Leon gets too worried about takedowns, Colby can hurt him. I agree with Gene. I think unless Leon lands that miracle shot again, I don't know how he beats him. I don't think he's going to outstrike him or not be on his back enough to where Colby's going to grind out rounds that way. And I agree with Gene as well, and both you guys actually. I think Colby, I don't like Colby either. I'm not a Colby guy. I don't know personally, but the shtick, I'm not a huge fan of it. I do think he's probably going to be a very hometown type, favorite, I think, of the crowd behind him on Saturday night, being in Vegas. It's good for the division. It gives you a guy at the top that every guy that gets in the cage with him going forward, you want to see that guy win to get the belt off Colby. And that's how you get great pay-per-views. It's how you get great fights. It's how you sell a lot of pay-per-views. Everybody always wants to see the obnoxious guy, lose. Diaz brothers made a living off of it. So
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather. He's a little different because how good he was, but I think Colby wins. I think Colby wins, and we get prepared for the Colby Covington era of the 170 division.
And I've been saying it since we started this show 3 years ago. We've covered Kamaru and Colby's fights, a couple times. I think Colby Covington is the best 170 in the world, not named Kamaru Usman. And that being the case, he's not fighting Kamaru this time around. And I think we're going to witness a Covington run here unless somebody comes up to 170 to dethrone him, or Hamzat decides that he wants to go back down to 170. I think you're going to see Colby be the champ, and you're going to see him with some multiple successful title defenses.
Okay, so we got to get into You Got to Be Kidding Me. We're going to wrap up. Cottrell, it's on you first.
So mine this week, we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, kind of hinting at it, but mine this week is Stephen A. Smith for his comments towards Zion Williamson, regarding his weight. So he said, "I'm not exaggerating. I'm quoting people. You got chefs in New Orleans who love him. They're looking for him. Every chef there wants to meet him. The word out on Zion Williamson is that he'll eat the table." And for you to say that when this kid obviously has battled his injuries so far throughout his career and missed all of last season, and for him to come back and average 23, 6, and 5, the Pelicans are playing great basketball right now. They're one of the top seeds in the Western Conference, and they made it to the semifinals of the in-season tournament. It's just very unfair criticism. Like, it's one thing if his play on the court hadn't been matching up to what those expectations were, but that's not the case. Zion Williamson is playing his way onto the All-Star team this year, maybe an All-NBA team when it's all said and done. And, you know, you say that, and the day after he goes out and he drops 36 points. So for me, you know, Stephen A. Smith, I get it. You know, you say things for shock value and you want your opinion out there, but, you know, just a very bad shot at Zion Williamson and definitely not needed.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Did they get a banner for the semifinal appearance? Shally.
I don't have one. I was going to use the banner, and I thought you were going to. I thought
use the banner. I got the other one.
No, we already did. We already did the banner. What am I going to say that you didn't say already? Just go. So go do your thing.
All right. So mine is on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the way they handled themselves on Sunday afternoon after that football game versus the Buffalo Bills. Kadarius Toney deserves some of this. If you didn't see the play, Kadarius Toney is blatantly lined up offsides. His foot is way further than it should be. Andy Reid after the game said he didn't check with the officials, where there is multiple cameras where Kadarius Toney kind of does nod to the officials, but you don't see the officials react to tell him to move back or move forward. Whatever you want to say in this scenario, he's offsides. To react the way he did, shaking Josh Allen's hand afterwards and instead of saying good game, worst effing call I've ever seen ever. Offensive offsides instead of saying good game to Josh Allen. His tirade on the sideline, acting like a baby. His comments afterwards saying this better be in Travis Kelce's Hall of Fame highlights, and it takes away from Travis Kelce, to saying you can't make that call at that moment in the game. Well, Travis, Patrick, if you didn't know, they throw the flag at the beginning of the play. They can't go back and be like, oh, whoa, Travis Kelce caught the ball, threw it backwards. It can't be said that way. Now I'm going to take it a step further for you, Patrick. You're wrong. You're mad at the wrong people. Kadarius Toney is a problem, and he's a cancer on the team. If you didn't watch the full play and got a chance to really see what happened, Kadarius Toney is actually throwing a temper tantrum on the field because Patrick Mahomes didn't throw him the football, and it went to Travis Kelce. He's jumping up and down, and then Travis Kelce sees him because he's throwing a basic temper tantrum on the field and throws him the football. Kadarius Toney jumped off sides. The call was right. And for you to make a comment like, well, they can't make a call like that in that important of a game, in that important of a moment. I just need to rewind the clock real quick and tell you about the Super Bowl when they made a call like that on James Bradbury. We don't have time, so I can't go any further. So for this week, Patrick Mahomes.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Guys, I love you. We didn't get into we got to post Bowlmania, but we have 23 seconds. So Bowlmania, it's free. We'll give you a hoodie. You can be on the show. Final thoughts. You have 5 seconds.
My 5 seconds would be for the Eagles fans out there. I just think it's hilarious that everything comes full circle.
Sign up for Bowlmania. We got to go.
Sign up for Bowlmania later.